Mhm. Hey there, folks. Welcome to WP Roundtable, episode 159. Gosh, I'm excited to be here today with my old buddy, Seth Alling. How you doing, Seth?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm not that old. Come on.
Oh man, my time with Seth goes way back. You were one of the early people that I met at WordCamps. A long time ago. Long, I
It
don't
was
know, a city not that far away.
2013, I think.
Could have
So
been.
right after I got my last job. Yeah.
Right. The last job. Yeah. The one that you're no longer with because you changed jobs.
I changed. I needed a change of scene.
So did I. So did I. That was kind of like, that was the thing to do in 2017, I think. Change it up. You know? And I'm feeling good about it. You feeling good about it?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Expanded my skill set.
Yeah. Well, Seth works at a company called Mediavine. That's right. And you guys, you make cool stuff, I guess. That's what I hear.
That's the plan, at least. We're kind of starting up a WordPress plugin division for Mediavine. They're a company that I guess they're kind of a go-between between advertisers and actual bloggers. And so our goal is to make bloggers money. And that's about it.
All right. We're going to talk more about that in a minute. Before we dive into your background and all the cool stuff you're doing at Mediavine, let's share our quick picks of the week. Mine, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I've been listening to a few lately that are pretty cool, but in the WordPress space, Tammy Lister and Matthias, what's Matthias's last name? He's the technical lead for Gutenberg, but Tammy and Matthias were interviewed on Shop Talk Show, which is a very popular front-end development podcast hosted by Dave Rupert and Chris Coyer. And they've been doing that for ages, and it's a super cool, not WordPress specific podcast. WordPress comes up now and then because it's a big part of the web, but it's unusual to have a WordPress focused episode, and this one was pretty cool because they got to talk to Tammy and Matthias directly about the Gutenberg project and expose their views and their challenges and misconceptions and all of this to a much broader audience. So I thought it was a pretty cool listen, actually. That's my quick pick. What have you got, Seth?
It's good. We'll have to check that one out. I've got WordCamp Detroit coming up on April 28th. We are still looking for speakers right now. And I believe the submissions close March 9th, if I remember correctly. So come to that one. It's kind of the inaugural one. I mean, we had one. That was my first WordCamp back in like 2011, I think was the last time they had one. So it's kind of an inaugural, kind of a repeat. I don't know what you'd want to call it, but we're starting from scratch.
5 years is a long gap in between WordCamps. That's really something. And I wonder, like, how much do organizers hate the speakers like myself who bookmark the deadline for speaker submissions and wait until then to submit? Because that date is definitely on the calendar.
That's what I do too. So
I need more time to just, like, I don't know, let my ideas just cultivate and grow for just the perfect talk.
Yeah, I don't have much time this year, so I don't know how much I'll be speaking or if I will. We'll find that out later.
I've made a lot of speaking submissions late at night, at like almost midnight, staying up late just to type out my abstracts. Probably a bad habit. Shame on me for doing so. Anyway, Seth, let's talk a little bit about you. All right, I want to hear more about your background. I know a little bit about what you've done, but I want to know more about what your ambitions were when you were younger, before your career was on track and you were doing web stuff. What is it that you aspired to do with your life, and how did you try to make it happen?
So in first grade, I wanted to be an astronaut.
Oh, imagine that.
I know. Go up to space, float around. I thought it'd be awesome. And then I realized that, I don't remember how I realized, but it's kind of dangerous. And so, and also I am afraid of heights. and
Mm.
I have problems with like pressure in airplanes, and I figured that may not be the best thing for me. So then in like third grade, um, I my dad, he's been a software engineer, and he had this copy of QBasic, and he's like, "Here, play around with this." And so I was like, "Okay," and I wrote a program, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool. I can actually make it do things that I want it to do." But it didn't look very pretty, and I was like, "Okay, whatever, forget about it." So then the Red Wings ended up winning the Stanley Cup in, when was that? 96. And I was like, I'm going to make a fan site. And so I was looking online, and I looked at other people's source code and used Microsoft Word. They had a way that you could
Wow.
switch to a code view. And I would type things in there for code and check on a site that I was FTPing up to, and it would work. And that's kind of how I self-taught myself. And that was, I don't know, I was a nerd. I didn't go outside. I played on a computer instead. And I slowly progressed with the whole advancement of all that. And I was like, okay, this could be kind of cool, but to make things look good, I have to put things in tables and nest it in tables upon tables upon tables. And I hated that.
Mm.
And I said, no one wants to do web development. And so I don't want to be a web developer. And so
Mm.
I said, I'm going to be a graphic designer. That way I can just make things look pretty. I had Photoshop. And I said, okay, cool. Went off to high school, decided advertising is the way to go. Went to college, did advertising for my major, and I did not get into the graphic design program. They said
What?
they said you can go into the management track, not into the graphic design track. And I'm like, um, I'm already doing stuff right now because at BYU I was a graphic designer for the athletic department. I'm like, I'm doing graphic design advertising right now. And I found out, I don't know why I didn't get in, but I didn't. So one day for BYU, they were changing the media guide up. And we've always done them as print catalogs. And they're like, it's kind of expensive. Budget cuts need to happen. We're going to try doing it online as well as having a print one. Does anyone in this room have any experience building a website? And so I look around at the 6 of us who are in the room, and no one's raising their hand. I'm like, I've made a website back in 1996, 97, 98. And they're like, cool, you're going to be in charge of it. And so I'm like, all right, let's see how to do this. They're like, we have a lynda.com account. If you need to freshen up on anything, you can use that. So I went on to lynda.com, learned CSS in 2 weeks, and started building a site from there, just straight HTML, no PHP or anything like that. And it kind of took off from there, I guess. I had a hiring freeze hit the LDS church right in 2008. And so I wasn't able to continue as a graduate assistant. I was going to graduate in 2009. So I went all the way up to the end of the year, actually extended my graduation so I could just have one extra semester of searching for a job, really. And I was looking for mainly graphic design jobs. But there was this company back in Royal Oak, Michigan, and this is 2009. The economy has pretty much tanked in Michigan. And I'm like, okay, it's close to home from Brighton, but there's no way I'm going to go back to Michigan. And there's no way I'm going to actually get a job at a web development agency as a web designer. Sure enough, I did. And so me and my wife, we moved back out here to Michigan, and it kind of all took off from there. I had no PHP experience. I had, I don't even know how they hired me. I had just CSS and HTML. And one day my boss came up and he's like, so this client, they want a WordPress site. Can you make a WordPress site? I'm like, I've used WordPress before. Yes, I can. And I quickly Googled some things, learned how to at least build a WordPress template with, or WordPress theme with just some PHP snippets, and kind of self-taught myself from there. And then I got annoyed with coding all the time because I was spending more time coding than designing. I was like, I came in as a web designer. So I got a job over at a sign shop as the lead graphic designer. I'm like, cool, I'm going to go back to designing. That's when I learned that designing signs is not the same as designing ads and posters. It's make my logo as big as possible. And I didn't really enjoy it that much. And then I was like, huh, I'm also not making as much money doing this either. And so then I switched over again back to development where, okay, we want someone who can do all the development stuff and do the design stuff. I'm like, that sounds like what I want to do. And so that's 2013. I got a new job working as a lead developer, and I built WordPress sites, lots of them and lots of themes. And I did that for the last 4.5 years until November when it was time to switch. And I was like, I need to find something that challenges me more. I need more problem solving. And
Right.
now I'm switched over to plugins.
It's a big difference. Yeah. Like, sounds like you've had just this quite the back and forth kind of challenge finding like just the right fit, and also like a unique level of awareness of what you wanted to do. That kind of stands out. Like, oh, I know what I like, and I'm just trying to find it, and it's not here, and it's not here, and it's not here. And that's not the case with a lot of the people I talk to in situations more like, reacting to whatever comes along and saying, I'll give this a try, see if I like it or not. But you seemed to always know what you wanted, or have a picture in your mind of what it was like, what it would be like. Is that fair?
Pretty much. I like things to look pretty, so that's where the whole design thing comes in. But I also really like to problem solve. And so it's annoying because I really hate the term unicorn, but I finally found out that's kind of where I like to be, is more on the front end side of a unicorn developer, because yeah, I like things looking nice, but I like to problem solve. I mean, I've had experience going full back end and full design. And so it's kind of unique that I've actually had those experiences, but that's what's put me where I am. But I do hate that term.
It's a little weird. I always felt uncomfortable with that sort of, I don't know, way of thinking too. For someone who built static sites for a long time, what was the point where you actually liked using WordPress? What was that moment where you liked it for the first time?
So in college, I had to create a portfolio, and I used WordPress for the portfolio because it was easy to quickly just put something up. And I knew enough CSS by that point in time that I could tweak it. But then when I switched over to the other site, we were doing things with hand-coded PHP. And a lot of our clients were like, well, we want a blog on top of this. And so we would take the PHP site, and then we do /blog, install WordPress on there.
Oh, I did that too. Yeah.
And it was so annoying because I'm like, wait, if I change the menu here, I have to change it here. And it was getting to be a little ridiculous. So I went into where our boss was and was like, we should probably, if they want a blog, let's do the whole thing in WordPress. It was right when 3.0 came out. So custom post types had just come out.
Yeah.
I think they'd actually come out a little bit before, but that's when they really started to get some headway. And so Bill, I mean, he's like, okay, if we can make some standard theme to go off of with our code, then let's do it. And that was kind of the moment, because I didn't like doing things twice. I'm one of those where if I have to do something over and over again, I start to get annoyed, and I see if there's a solution to get rid of doing it over and over again.
Man, I forgot about those days, because I totally did the exact same thing where I was building PHP sites and had a couple where /blog was a WordPress install. And it was shortly after doing that a bunch of times where I was like, hey, Like I could do the whole site with just this, you know, the pages too, and everything else, and have different user logins and stuff. Gosh, yeah, those were fun. The good old days. That's one thing on this show. I always love talking the good old days, and you definitely have some reflections. Goodness,
Back
tables inside of
before,
tables and stuff. That was
it
the
was
fun
before you
stuff.
had SAS or anything like that, or
I mean, how do you feel
CSS
about
was.
like developers getting started today? Like they don't get to experience tables inside of tables inside of tables.
You know what? I think that's a good thing for them.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like JavaScript, that's the one thing where I always kind of stayed behind on. I was like, you know, I can do my HTML, I can do my CSS. I now know PHP. I don't really want to touch JavaScript. And now everything is moving in the way of JavaScript. I'm like, okay, I know jQuery very well, but I don't know vanilla JavaScript.
No.
And so I finally have gotten to the point where it's like, okay, I'm pretty confident in that. And now you've got all these different things. It's like, well, what flavor of JavaScript do I want to go with? Do I want to go
Oh my
React? Do I want to
goodness,
go
yes.
Vue? Do I want to try Angular? Do I want to try? And how do I make this thing actually compile now? Because I can't just write something and have it work. And so that's where I feel sorry for new developers or old developers like myself, where it's like, I need to build up this skill. And I'm finally to the point where I'm like, okay, I can get my way around. But there was that steep learning curve that it scared me.
Yeah. Gosh. I mean, it does feel like that sometimes. Like we've been doing this a while, and it's still freaking overwhelming at times. Like, isn't there supposed to be a point where we're like, we're good, you know, and comfortable with this? Why is it still hard?
Because there's always a better way.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
the JavaScript will refactor itself over and over again. That's what all the
oh,
frameworks are.
gosh. Yeah, JavaScript. I don't know. I don't know. That's frustrating though at times. But I mean, cool stuff is happening. You guys, let's talk a little bit about what you're building at Mediavine. Like some actually legitimately cool stuff that sounds like you're pretty
So
proud of.
right now we are working on a recipe card plugin. And
Mm,
since most of our publishers, well, not most of them, all of our publishers deal with our ads, a lot of the other plugins that we have to use, um, we've got to modify or find a way that we can hack in our ads into where the ingredients are or something like that. So it doesn't look as nice. And then we have a whole support engineering team that goes and they modify the CSS. So one of the things that this is going to do is make it so that that works right off the bat and still be fast loading, because we don't want ads that slow down anyone's site. We want a site to be fast. But the other thing is, we looked around, there's like 15 different recipe card plugins, and all of them do something. Well, they all do things that are slightly different, but some of them are better than others, and some of them it's like, well, this one is really good, but they have this feature, but it's missing this, and this one has this. And so we're like, okay, if you have 15 options, we need to create the best one. And in the end, you're probably going to just have 16 options. But we're in the process, we're building it so that we will have, we're trying to make the most intuitive UI possible. You can see the recipe card as you're typing with a preview on the other side. And so that way, right when they type in the title, it'll automatically create the custom post type for that, populate it into its own database. And then with everything that they type in, they can see it happening live on the site without having to go back and forth or have like a page builder atmosphere into it. All this is done in React. It automatically builds up categories just as they type it in, or they can select it. It's all auto select based. And it's going to be sweet, but we're still in the process of building it. We're going to be showing it off next week to quite a few beta testers and get all the feedback where they might say it's terrible and we have to start over. But it will be completely free. It will be open source, put on the repo, and good for anyone to use. And then we have to make lots of importers, lots and lots of importers.
Oh, wow. So what is this audience that Mediavine serves?
So most of the Publishers that we have are bloggers, obviously, but food bloggers is a really big portion of our audience. Probably, I don't know, I'd say like 40% are food bloggers. So we have a lot of food bloggers, travel bloggers, got some of the like Hollywood entertainment bloggers in there, and then a lot of like mother and family bloggers at the same time. So the most recent stat that I heard was one in one out of every two women in the United States comes across a site that is from a Mediavine publisher.
Oh
So
wow.
our target audience is basically women, like for those advertisers who come in. So
Wow. So
a lot of food,
do you
but
ever come across like customer blogs where you're like, oh, bookmark, this is a good blog?
so I don't actually bookmark them, but I never realized until I joined the company. Like whenever I like look for a recipe or something, because I like to cook. So I'm going through my phone, I find a recipe and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make this recipe. And you know how ads are. You've learned to tune them out. I still tune them out.
Yeah.
But as I go through now, I tune out and I see the logo. And I'm like, oh, I guess I just help pay my salary slightly.
Yeah. That's funny. Wow. Okay. So bloggers is the audience for the
Yep.
company. And so you are you joined in November.
Yep.
Uh,
Right at the end of November.
that's pretty cool. I mean, how'd you become acquainted with this company?
Um, my last job, I got to the point where I was just building the same thing over and over again. And as you heard, that's not what I like to do. And I was watching everything change in the landscape. I wasn't really touching any JavaScript or anything really. And I was like, I need to solve more problems. I'm getting bored with what I'm doing. So I found something that would challenge me. And I started looking for jobs. I needed to find something remote because I've been remote for now almost 5 years and I don't think I can go back to an office.
Yeah.
But I was looking all over and I don't remember where I found the link for this, but I applied and
Mhm.
went through a pretty lengthy process. It was probably about 2, 3 months before I
Mm.
actually was given an offer. I found out they had narrowed it down between me and another guy, and then in the end they hired us both at the same time. So
All right.
we started our own team, able to figure out coding standards right off the bat and go from there.
Your own team. So like you're kind of didn't just jump into an existing sort of group or
We
department.
we did. We jumped into. We've got a whole bunch of software engineers. I mean, whole bunch. The company's like 30 people, so software engineers is like four others.
Yeah.
But we focus on WordPress. They focus on the script that actually pulls in the advertising and the video ads and stuff like that in a way that they
Wow.
can do all the integrations. That's way over my head
Yeah.
currently.
So for going on, yeah, let's see, 4 months working there. How are things going so far? I mean, are you finding that challenge that you were looking for?
Yeah. Day one went pretty good. Day two, I was like, oh no, what have I done? Am I in completely over my head? Because I hadn't touched PHP or CSS and I'm being thrown into JavaScript right off the bat. I'm like, all right, let's see how this goes. And then we talked some things over and I was like, okay, I'm going to start doing some mock-ups. Let's make things look pretty first. And then I kind of went back over to some designing some CSS, some PHP, and now I've jumped back over to JavaScript, but we at least have something to build off of, and my skill set is a little bit higher, so I'm a little more confident. I don't think I'm going to get canned anytime soon. I hope not.
Okay.
You know how that goes, where it's like, oh, am I good enough for this job? I think so, but at the same time, I really think I'm going over my head. But
Wow.
now I
Wow.
think I'm good.
Yeah. So you feel good about like the type of stuff that you're getting to learn and the type of challenges, like in terms of staying relevant and keeping up with what is cool right now. This is it, and you're a little more in line, right?
Yeah, like as I said before, I didn't have any much JavaScript experience, and we're building things in React right now for this plugin, and it's been it's been actually pretty cool learning a lot of these things. There's still some things that are going over my head, but between the other guy who they hired who's pretty good with JavaScript and then the other team where they're all like React developers, it's nice having people not being the lead, where I am not the one where I'm like the source of knowledge and have to network as much as possible to get information from other people and read a lot of blogs. There are people at the company who can help me learn things and help me progress and grow. So it's nicer that way.
Right. Right. I get it. So what did you say to somebody right now if they were getting started in web development? Do you think that jumping into like the kind of thing that you're doing right now would be really wise, or any kind of other foundation? What do you think?
I think honestly, it's kind of sad. As soon as I started, I went and purchased a tutorial for React so that way I could at least kind of understand the basics, and went through a little bit of it, not the whole thing, but enough. And going through that, I was like, oh, this is actually a lot easier than what I thought it would ever be.
Mm.
And so I think if you can find the right source to help you learn something, like whatever works best for you. As I said before, I learned CSS from lynda.com, so I knew video tutorials are no problems for me. But if you can find a way that you learn best and then go through that, you can probably go in whatever direction you really want. I would just say right now, since everything seems, if you want front end, everything seems to want JavaScript, make sure you learn it. Don't just kind of step aside and be like, I'll do HTML and CSS only.
Yeah. Is that, I mean, how long are we going to be relevant with just like that kind of skill? Like, do we really have to learn JavaScript at this point? Are we there?
I think probably, well, it depends what you're doing. If you're just doing backend stuff, you probably don't really need it all that much unless you're working with Node. But
Which seems to be pretty common.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, you probably just need to know JavaScript.
Yeah.
If you want to learn programming,
All right.
I don't
That's
know. I'm not a computer science major. I'm an advertising major. This is the first time in a company that actually somewhat applies to my degree.
Wow. Interesting. That's
It all came full circle. Just 10
yeah.
years later.
Not exactly in the role that you expected.
Not even close. I thought that I'd be like in New York or something designing ads, like actually designing, and did not think that I would be at home in my basement, obviously, with a fuse box behind my head. Making code, making things work, solving problems. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, yeah. So you're wrapped up in this project. You were telling me a little bit before about the cool things that you're working on now. Are there some pretty big, ambitious things on the horizon that you're excited to tackle, or just focusing on the project at hand?
Right now, focusing on the project at hand, we have a big what if roadmap going on, but it depends on how a lot of things play out.
Wow.
I don't know if I can even share any of it, so we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, yeah. Those are always cool to just like think about, and
some of it really scares me.
Oh.
One of the things I don't like doing is, and I learned that from my last job, DevOps. I got decent at it, but it's not something that I enjoy at all. And there's been talks of doing some DevOps work, and the other WordPress engineer, he's like, I love that stuff. I'm like, cool, you can have that stuff if it happens. But I don't want to touch it. But I know how to do it.
When it comes to like this what if roadmap, do you think it will involve more or less WordPress? Or the same?
I'd say it's about 50-50, honestly.
Really?
Since most, like, our clientele are bloggers, so WordPress is the platform to be on. But we literally renamed our team. We were WordPress engineering department. We recently changed it to publishers engineering because it's like, just in case WordPress for some reason has something happen or gets forked or who knows what, we don't want to limit ourselves to only WordPress. I mean, my title is still WordPress engineer, but also that might help bring in other developers who don't necessarily have any experience with WordPress, but they know how to work with a database, they know how to build something in React, and they'd be able to still build on there. So bring someone into the WordPress ecosystem without actually having them have any WordPress experience. I know there's, I'm trying to think who, I think it was Shane Perlman from Modern Tribe said that was one of the hiring strategies that he had done before, was just if they could code, then they'd be able to move in as needed. So I think in response to your question, it's about 50-50. I mean, most of the stuff right now is definitely WordPress related. Further down the road, it may not be 100% WordPress related.
Sure. Right, right. Wow, okay. What are some of the like fun tricks that you've learned in the past few months that just like, you know, new tools in your tool belt, just new skills you've developed?
So this one is really simple, and I should have been doing it a long time ago. But with error logging, I always would like var dump all the things on the page. And it was annoying, but I was like, you know what? It works. And switching over here, my counterpart, he's like, there's a lot easier way to do this. And I was like, yeah, I know. I can probably log it to a file and do that. I've had to do that before if for some reason it was not, like the page would refresh before I could see everything. It's like, yeah, but if you just go into your terminal and you just tail the debug log with -F, so that way it's done in real time. As soon as something goes wrong, your console will like light up with errors, or you can then log out the errors with the error log command. I'm just like, that would have saved so many projects, so much time and so many projects I've done. Like super primitive, probably should have known that, but as I said before, I went into the company as the lead developer. I didn't have anyone to really tell me all that. It's all what I knew at the time, and those weren't things that, I don't know, wasn't something I ever wrote a blog about. So something that's so dumb, but it made life so much easier.
It really makes you think about how many of us are out there without someone looking over their shoulder and saying, hey, you know, there's a better way. Just that's rampant. There's so many people out there in that situation.
Well, really. It reminds me of, so Andy Mellicar gave a talk, I think it was Andy who did it, about pair programming at WordCamp Jackson.
Right.
And I was like, why would anyone want to do pair programming? Like, that just does not sound fun to have someone looking over my shoulder. I've had the designer where someone's looking over my shoulder. I'm like, that's the worst thing ever. So come here and
that just sounds terrible.
One of the things that happens here is they're like, okay, we pair program a lot. I'm like, okay, well, let's see how this goes. And that is actually where I've learned so much, when it's like, okay, you drive today. So I'm coding and they're like, this is probably a better way to do it. It's like, oh, I never thought of it that way. Or you're overcomplicating this. Or did you know that this tool exists that will make your life so much easier? Those are the things that are invaluable that I never understood could come with pair programming until I actually did it. So now I'm a firm believer in having it, just not for designing things, because that still would be the worst.
Oh my goodness. Yes, I can see it for code. It's a bit of a stretch at first, but I get it. But heck no for design. Yeah, get out of here.
At that sign shop, our owner, he wanted to be innovative. And so I would be sitting at a computer with my 2 monitors, and then I would have 2 monitors facing the client. So they would sit across from me, and they're like, move the logo 2 pixels to the left, make this bigger. And I would become their mouse. That was literally like one of the hardest things ever. I mean, in theory, it seems like it'd be a good practice, really makes the client happy, but you're going to kill your designer.
I can't believe you didn't stick around. That just sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, I was looking for a job. I did. I left, obviously. That was actually one of the things that pushed me back into development because I was also managing their websites, and I was like, I'm having more fun with the development than I am with the designing right now.
Yeah.
And the other thing was I realized that with freelance projects, I was like, I'm starting to lose a lot of my skill set. Like, you don't realize how much you lose until you haven't been doing it on a constant basis.
Right.
So I feel like I lost a year there,
Ugh.
but I jumped back in. It's probably why I don't know JavaScript as well as I should. I'll blame that job now.
Sure, sure. Yeah, that's a cool thing. Being
Trying
able
to
to
think if there's anything else that I've learned recently. Oh, Adobe XD. Have you ever heard of that?
Adobe XD. I don't know.
So I was like, okay, I'm gonna make some wireframes. I know how to do a little bit of UI design. They're like, okay, cool. Do you use it? They're like, what do you use? And I go, Illustrator, some Photoshop. They're like, have you heard of Adobe XD? I'm like, no, I have a Creative Cloud subscription, but never heard of it. And it's basically a prototyping thing where you can build up a vector interface, but then you can click on a prototype button, and literally you can say, I want when they click this to go to this frame, and then you go and you can build that up, and literally you can make like full-on mock-ups of interfaces. And that was another thing. I was just like, I've been doing this in Illustrator where I literally was like, okay, so if you go to that, then you will have this image, and then you'll have this, and with this, it has a publish button that just goes online and they can actually click and see how it's going to interact right on the spot. That was the other thing that was just like, whoa. So probably not as pertinent to you with development, but for the whole design thing, I was like, that makes web design so much easier because you don't have to give the whole picture perfect thing, but you can give the actual user experience with that.
Sure. Yeah. Wow, that sounds pretty valuable. I'm gonna have to take a look at that.
It's pretty sweet.
Do you ever use CodePen?
CodePen, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I use CodePen. That was It's actually have shared some code over to coworkers before. I'm like, here's this weird SVG thing. They're like, that's SVG magic. I'm like, no, it's just code. I don't really know what I'm doing, but it worked out in the end. But here it's on CodePen.
Yeah. Yeah. Good
CodePen's a
tools. Good
great
tools.
place to find um, like just kind of like modern trends for simple CSS or JavaScript things that you've
Hmm.
never thought of if you just kind of browse through. It's like, oh, I didn't know it could do that.
That's exactly what I think all the time. I didn't know a browser could do that. Wow.
I don't think you're supposed to be using it that way, but
Yeah. But it looks cool. And I struggle to think of a real world application for this, but it's cool. Yeah. Yeah. So you are based not too far away, actually, over in the old east side of Michigan area.
yep, Madison Heights.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
about 10 minutes north of Detroit if there's
10
no
minutes
traffic.
only.
So
Oh,
I guess
wow.
it's like 15 to 30 is probably more typical, but
Sure, sure. Yeah. And Detroit's like seems like an interesting place right now. Uh, Going through like a bit of a
it's going through a rebrand.
yep. But there's some neat things happening in the downtown area for sure, and
Yeah,
it's a bit of a tech scene, and most importantly, a word camp. Geez,
finally, again.
yeah, that's that's a sign of brighter times. Um, I'm
Is
really
that how
excited
we
about it.
is that how we judge the economy of a city? Do they have a word camp?
Yeah, yeah, that is a strong signal. Uh,
Jackson is better than Detroit.
yeah, this year I'm curious to see who sells more tickets, Jackson or Detroit. That would be like a fun head to head.
I think Jackson will, because we did not expect Chicago to go the exact same week as us
Ah,
in
that's
that one.
so unfortunate. Mm.
And that one, I don't know. Like, it's good because we can just make it a local thing, which it's technically supposed to be anyway. But it's like you're asking the people who are in the middle to western side of Michigan to literally pick between the two. Like I think
Right.
like Kalamazoo, it's like you got the same drive for either or. So
Yeah,
go to which one you want. So
pretty much. I don't know. I think I
we
would have
changed our
like
date and we didn't know that there was Chicago, and
I
they
don't
announced there's like
I
a
feel
week
like
after
Detroit
ours.
was had the date first. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like they should have a rule about a radius. Like you shouldn't pick the same weekend if you're 5 hours driving distance away. That's too close. All right.
Especially, yeah.
Because those of us right in between, now we have to choose, and that's just I don't like that. I don't want to have to choose.
We're in Michigan, stay in the state.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to, but I wanted to go to Chicago.
Yep, me too.
Yeah,
I haven't been to Chicago since 2013.
2013. Oh wow, yeah, yeah. That was the year that Matt came and did a town hall. Uh,
No, no, maybe it was 2014 when I was there.
Might have
I don't
been.
know.
You're probably thinking of 2014
Yeah, it was
then.
2014 when I was there. That's right.
Yeah,
Yep,
right.
that was when they had 3 days.
Yep, they did, and Michelle organized it, and uh,
And then
yeah,
moved away.
yeah. We had the great after party on the terrace. Um, that's pretty fun. Good time. Um, yeah. Okay. So, are you going to speak at Detroit?
I don't know. Like, I'd have to find a topic to talk about, and I really don't know what to talk about right now.
Well, gosh, you've learned a lot of new stuff lately.
Yeah, but it's not something that could really turn into a really good talk or anything like that. And last time I spoke for 45 minutes, it ended up ending way early, as you remember. But
Yeah, you remember it worse than I think everybody else does.
yeah, I went on WordPress TV. I'm like, oh, it's still over 30 minutes. I must have started way early without realizing it. But I
Yeah.
actually wrote a blog about it, and it's still sitting in my drafts because I never finished it. I've got a lot of those. Last time I blogged was 2016, I think. I'm doing
Oh,
good.
brother. Yeah, that's something to work on for sure. Huh. Well, you've given a lot of WordCamp talks, and they've all been great in the past.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this year, like June, I'm not going to be home. So I won't be going to any of the word camps in June either. So I'm actually going to be missing Kent for the first time in who knows how long.
Oh,
And
yeah. And Grand Rapids too,
Grand
then
Rapids is going
probably.
to
Yeah.
be the weekend I'm getting back. So
Wow. Okay. Gone for a whole month. Wow. How about that?
yeah, it'll be a tough life. I'll be in Hawaii. So
Oh no. Okay. Well, I'm so sorry you have to go through that.
actually, there is one thing that bugs me. I was like, I have meetings at 10 a.m. Eastern, and that's 5 a.m. there. So that part I'm not looking forward to. I mean, I'm not working the whole time, but
All right. Well, now I do feel bad for you. That sucks. But you don't have to go to Texas all the time anymore,
nope.
right?
Well, my wife's from Texas, so uh, we still go to Texas.
Sure, sure, sure. All right. Well, just a few more questions for you um, before we proceed with our evenings and get to hanging out with our families.
Yep.
Um, what what is your favorite plugin?
My favorite plugin. It's not no page comment, so don't worry about that. It was for quite a while until WordPress integrated that feature into core. But my favorite plugin is probably probably Gravity Forms. I mean,
Mm,
it's premium, so I don't know if it counts. But
mm,
there's a lot of things I've done with it that's probably not how it's supposed to work that have solved problems for other people.
yeah.
I made a
Wow.
BuzzFeed thing just based off of Gravity Forms once where people would go in and they would literally select between options and then it would place them in a thing and bring up a correct page. I don't think it's intended for that, but it worked using gravity forms.
Oh wow. Gosh. Yeah, there's probably a lot of us who like could look through our portfolio and find some crazy stuff that we've made with gravity forms. It's just that kind of tool. You can do cool things with it.
Yep.
That's a good one. That's a good one. So you're going to be at WordCamp Detroit. You're going to be gone in June. But through the rest of this year, is there any likelihood that we're going to bump into you at anything in public?
I should be at US again.
Cool.
I don't know when that one's happening. They actually haven't said the date. I'm assuming it's going to be the same week, but you never know.
Yeah, I'd like to know soon.
And then we also, I don't know, are there any other WordCamps besides the ones in June?
Yeah.
Ann Arbor. Ann Arbor, of course. But
good answer.
I was wondering if there's any others. I'll be at Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
I've
been
at all of them so far. I have to keep that streak going, right?
You do. Are you gonna be like a 5-peat speaker if you speak?
I don't know.
Well, at least a 5-peat attendee. Because this will be.
I did speak all. That was actually the first time I ever spoke. Was the inaugural Ann Arbor.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I got put on a panel. You moderate it.
Oh, I didn't even realize that was the first time. Right.
Yep.
That was when you and I went to lunch, and you. I don't know. We trusted my directions, which was bad. At the time, I didn't know Ann Arbor very well, and got lost on the way back. And carrying our laptops over our shoulders, we had to run to get back in time. And Ross had just got started waiting for us.
Good times. Yeah. Good times.
Yeah, I'm like wheezing and panting, running up to the podium.
Well, I also remember Jackson. You ended up scheduling lunch too long, and you had to leave. And I think you were late moderating a panel there. And I think you did another Ann Arbor. You need to make lunch longer, I think, is what we're learning here.
Wow. You're right. Actually, I wasn't late to the panel. It was Christy. Somebody else was late to the panel after lunch.
I thought you left early from lunch, and whoever was with our group was supposed to be at the same one.
Yeah. Wow. There's a trend there of being late to panels after lunch. Wow.
Or maybe we shouldn't have panels after lunch.
Maybe. That's too many people to rely on to, just make it back on time.
Yeah.
I like it. That's really good advice. Huh. I'll think about that. Okay. So, and you might even think about coming over to Jackson in August. That's our.
Is it August?
Yeah, that's what we're looking for.
I don't have a baby expected in August, so I should do that.
Okay.
That's why I didn't go to Grand Rapids last year.
Right. Do you have good recommendations for me for guests that I should invite on the show in the future?
Have you done either Laura Egan or Leanne Dries from?
Oh, those are good examples. Yeah, definitely. I should talk to them. Yeah. Good choice.
There's always Eric Malcolm too.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to Eric. He's
heading up to Detroit. So.
That is true. This would be a good time to chat with the guy. I'm gonna really focus this show on just like WordPress people from Detroit.
You should. There we go.
Yeah.
And then we can all use WordCamp Detroit as our quick pick of the week. And
wow. Yeah.
Publicity. Shameless.
2 weeks ago, my guest was from Detroit. Yeah. That's a great idea. I have to space those out a little bit. We can't just focus entirely on Michigan. I mean, we have the best WordPress scene, I think, that's out there here in Michigan. This is the best community and everything. But
that's why Jackson was so fun last year, WordCamp Jackson. It was basically a Michigan WordPress reunion.
Yeah. It's pretty cool, pretty chill. That was pretty good. Did you come to the speaker dinner? You were there.
I did. Yeah.
But you went in like with the other room with the other
Yeah, I
group,
was
I
not in
think.
your group. I was
That's
in a
right.
different group.
Right. We did the escape room thing.
Yep.
Yeah, good times, good times.
We just did one recently with the company I'm with at a retreat, and gotta say, their room was not as cool as the one in Jackson.
That's great. Oh yeah, we did one at our corporate retreat too for St. Hills in November in Colorado, and that one was pretty good. It was pretty fun.
Ours was just a lot of scavenging, so
mm-hmm.
there wasn't as much problem solving.
Yeah. Huh. This can be tough, man. I don't know, but they're fun. Good team building stuff.
Yep.
Anyway, I want to wrap up here and let you get on with your evening. I'm going to go help get dinner started. So Seth, let us know how people can follow you.
You can follow me on my website that I never blog on, which is sethalling.com, or you can find me on Twitter at Seth Alling. I'm never on Facebook, so there's no point in following me there. And that's probably about it. My WordPress handle, but that doesn't really matter as much as Seth TA.
Sure. All right. Well, thank you, Seth, for taking time out of your evening to come hang out with me and chat about web dev and your career in JavaScript and Detroit and all this cool stuff. I appreciate your time.
Yep, thank you.
See you again soon.
See you.